The Italian leather shoe came down on Shadow's ribs with a sickening crack. Cole Brennan watched from 30 feet away as his 9-year-old Belgian Malinois, the dog who'd saved his life in Afghanistan, who'd dragged him from burning wreckage, who'd slept beside him through 1,000 nightmares, crumpled under the force of a billionaire's casual cruelty. Victor Hartwell laughed. The crowd laughed with him. Phones recorded everything. And in that frozen moment, Cole made a decision that would destroy a $2 billion empire and expose the darkest secrets in American defense contracting. Before we continue, tell us where you're watching from in the comments. And if this story moves you, please subscribe and stay with us until the very end. Cole Brennan's hands were raw from scrubbing floors. 11 o'clock at night, and he pushed the industrial mop across marble that cost more per square foot than his monthly rent. The bucket water had turned gray 3 sections ago, but replacement supplies required supervisor approval, and his supervisor had gone home at 6. "Just make it shine, Miller," the man had said, using the wrong name entirely. "VIPs tomorrow. Big money. Don't mess it up." Cole hadn't corrected him. Names didn't matter much anymore. What mattered was the paycheck that covered Shadow's medication, the electricity that kept their apartment warm, and the silence that let him pretend his life hadn't collapsed. His phone buzzed. A text from Dr. Maya Chen at the veterinary clinic. "Shadow's blood work came back. Need to discuss. Call when you can." Cole's chest tightened. Shadow was 9 now. Old for a working dog. The limp from the IED in Kandahar had never fully healed, and lately the dog had been slower to rise in the mornings. He typed back, "Everything okay?" 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. "Call me tomorrow. Not urgent. Just important." Cole stared at those words until the screen went dark. Not urgent. Just important. In his experience, that combination never meant good news. He finished the east corridor and checked his watch. 30 minutes until he could retrieve Shadow from the service entrance alcove and walk the 6 blocks home. "You there! Janitor!" Cole turned. A security guard approached, young and overeager, his uniform still creased from the package. "Mr. Patterson wants all maintenance staff in the loading dock area. They're moving setup equipment for tomorrow's gala." "I'm not done with now. Mr. Patterson's orders." Cole set down the mop. He'd learned long ago that arguing with people who valued authority over logic wasted everyone's time. The loading dock was chaos. Crates of expensive equipment, cases of champagne, elaborate floral arrangements. 15 other workers in matching jumpsuits moved with the mechanical efficiency of people who'd stopped expecting their work to matter. Patterson stood in the center, clipboard raised like a scepter. "Listen up! Hartwell Dynamics' biggest event of the decade happens tomorrow. 500 guests. Department of Defense brass. Foreign investors. Media from 6 countries. Everything must be perfect. I see 1 scuff mark, 1 misaligned chair, 1 fingerprint on glass, and someone's getting terminated. Clear?" Murmured acknowledgments rippled through the group. Cole studied Patterson. Mid-40s, soft around the middle. The kind of man who'd never been genuinely tested, and mistook that luck for competence. His eyes passed over Cole without recognition, which was fine. Invisibility had advantages. "You," Patterson pointed at Cole. "What's your name?" "Brennan." "Brennan, you're on exterior detail. Make sure the entrance areas are spotless. And there's some kind of mess near the service entrance. Looks like someone's been sleeping there. Clean it up." Cole's blood cooled. "That's my dog spot. I have permission from night security to—" "I don't care what permission you think you have." This is a defense contractor's headquarters during a high-security event. No animals, no exceptions. Get rid of it before morning. "He's a service dog." Patterson's lip curled. Service dog for what? Cole held the man's gaze. 3 tours in Afghanistan, 14 confirmed enemy combatants. A bronze star he kept in a drawer, because looking at it reminded him of the men who should have received it instead. PTSD, Cole said quietly. He's registered. He's trained. He's legal. I don't see a vest. He doesn't need one. The ADA doesn't require... I don't care what the ADA requires. I care what Mr. Hartwell requires. And Mr. Hartwell requires a pristine facility without strays loitering at the entrance. Remove it by morning or don't bother coming back. Patterson walked away before Cole could respond. A woman beside Cole, older, gray-haired, wearing the same maintenance uniform, touched his arm briefly. Don't push it. I've seen 3 people fired this month for less. He's looking for excuses. Thanks. Cole's jaw remained tight. What's your name? Linda Morrison. 22 years here, and I've never seen it this bad. Ever since the new defense contract negotiations started, they've been cleaning house. Anyone who asks questions, anyone who makes noise. She lowered her voice. My husband's cousin worked here. R&D department. Started asking about safety protocols for the drone guidance system. Gone within a week. No severance, no explanation. Just gone. What happened to him? Linda's eyes darted. Nobody knows. He moved away, supposedly. Changed his number. Deleted all his social media. She shook her head. 20 years in tech development, and he just vanishes? People don't do that unless they're scared. Or unless someone made them scared. Linda looked at him sharply, then away. I've got floors to finish. You didn't hear any of this from me. She disappeared into the bustle of workers. Cole returned to his section, but Linda's words stuck like shrapnel. People vanishing. Questions silenced. A defense contractor worth billions, with secrets worth protecting. He thought of Marcus Webb's text from 3 weeks ago, which he'd ignored. Brother, call me. It's about Thompson, and Martinez, and Rodriguez. Something's wrong. Something's really wrong. Marcus had served with Cole in SEAL Team 4. Thompson, Martinez, and Rodriguez had all been teammates. All 3 had taken jobs with defense contractors after leaving the service. All 3 were dead now. Thompson, car accident on an empty road. Martinez, suicide, supposedly, though his wife swore he'd been happier than ever. Rodriguez, heart attack at 41, despite being in perfect health. 3 men from his team. 3 men who'd worked in defense tech. 3 deaths that didn't add up. Cole had told himself it was coincidence, bad luck, the universe's cruel mathematics. He'd been telling himself that for 2 years. He finished his section and checked his watch again. Still 20 minutes. Through the glass doors, he could see Shadow's alcove, a small covered area beside the service entrance, where the dog lay on a folded blanket, patient as always. Even from here, Cole could see the silver around Shadow's muzzle, the careful way he held his injured leg. You and me against the world, Cole had told him after they'd been discharged. That's the deal. I keep you fed, you keep me sane, and we both pretend everything's fine. Shadow had thumped his tail once, which Cole interpreted as agreement. The dog had been with him through the divorce, his wife, Karen, finally admitting she couldn't live with his nightmares anymore. Through the failed attempts at real jobs, security consulting, personal protection, private investigation, all of which ended when his PTSD flared at the wrong moment. Through the steady descent from middle-class stability to paycheck survival. Shadow never judged, never complained, never asked why Cole woke up screaming at 3 a.m., or why he couldn't sit with his back to a door. The dog just stayed. That was worth more than Cole could calculate. The next morning, Cole arrived early. He'd brought Shadow's documentation, the official service dog certification, the letter from his VA psychiatrist, the registration with the national database. He had copies in a folder, ready for whatever bureaucratic resistance Patterson tried to deploy. But Patterson was nowhere to be seen. Instead, the building buzzed with preparation. Catering trucks lined the street. Security personnel in expensive suits checked credentials at every entrance. Flowers arrived in arrangements that probably cost more than Cole's car. He found his supervisor, a different man than usual, young, nervous, overwhelmed. "Brennan, right? We need you on entrance detail. Polish the brass fixtures. Make sure the carpets are perfect. Stay invisible. Can you handle that?" "My dog is in the service alcove. I have documentation showing I don't care about your dog right now. Just stay out of the guest's way and don't cause problems." The young supervisor rushed off before Cole could finish. Cole checked on Shadow first. The dog lay exactly where he'd left him, blanket folded beneath, water bowl half full, eyes tracking Cole's approach with calm recognition. "Hey, buddy." Cole knelt, rubbing the thick fur behind Shadow's ears. "Busy day. Lot of important people doing important things. You just stay here, stay quiet, and I'll be back in a few hours." Shadow's tail swept the concrete once. "Good boy." Cole positioned himself near the main entrance, polishing cloth in hand, and waited for the circus to begin. By noon, the guests had started arriving. Cole recognized some faces from news coverage: senators, generals, tech executives. Others were clearly foreign, speaking languages Cole didn't recognize, examining the building with the evaluative eyes of people deciding how much money to spend. The security was tight. 3 checkpoint layers, credential verification at each, armed guards trying to look decorative and failing. Cole stayed invisible, which wasn't hard. The wealthy had a remarkable ability to look past service workers as if they were furniture. He polished the same brass fixture 17 times, and nobody noticed. Then the energy shifted. It happened around 2 o'clock. A ripple ran through the security personnel, shoulders straightening, hands checking earpieces, attention snapping toward the main entrance. Victor Hartwell had arrived. Cole had seen photos in business magazines, but they hadn't captured the physical presence. Hartwell moved like a man who'd never been told no, who'd never waited in line, who'd never considered that the world might contain perspectives other than his own. Mid-50s, tall, silver hair swept back, face smooth with expensive maintenance. His suit probably cost more than Cole's annual salary. His watch definitely did. His smile had the practiced warmth of someone who'd learned that charm was cheaper than kindness and more effective. An entourage orbited him: assistants, executives, publicists, and a young man with a camera who seemed to exist solely to document Hartwell's magnificence. "The Department of Defense representatives?" Hartwell's voice carried without effort. "Where are they?" "Conference room B, sir. They're reviewing the preliminary specifications." "Good." "And the senator?" "Arriving at 3. Make sure the champagne is the 96 Dom. He mentioned it specifically at the golf tournament." "Already arranged, sir." Hartwell nodded, accepting this as his due, and continued through the atrium. Cole watched him pass. Something about the man's eyes bothered him, a coldness beneath the charm, a calculation that never stopped rumming. He'd seen that look before, in interrogators, in people who'd learned to smile while planning violence. The afternoon passed without incident. Cole polished, cleaned, and remained invisible. Shadow stayed in his alcove, undisturbed by the chaos. Then came the moment. It started with laughter. Around 5 o'clock, the event began winding toward its conclusion. Guests drifted toward the exits, exchanging business cards and promises of future meetings. Hartwell emerged from an inner room, surrounded by his usual orbiting attendants. He was in high spirits. The contract negotiations had apparently gone well. Cole heard fragments of celebration, mentions of $500 million and exclusive rights and beating Lockheed to the punch. The group moved toward the main entrance. Phones appeared. Someone suggested a photo outside, with the Chicago skyline as background. That's when Hartwell noticed Shadow. "What is that?" The question cut through the conversation. Hartwell pointed toward the service alcove, where Shadow lay quietly on his blanket. "Sir?" An assistant looked confused. That animal. Why is there a dog at my building?" I don't know, sir. Maintenance, maybe? A service dog?" "A service dog." Hartwell's lip curled. "At my facility, during the most important event of the year. Someone thought it was appropriate to leave their pet lying around like we're running a kennel." Cole was 40 feet away when he heard the words. He set down his polishing cloth and started walking. "Sir, I'm sure there's an explanation." "I don't want explanations. I want it removed. This is a defense contractor's headquarters, not a shelter for strays. What kind of image does this project to the Department of Defense? To foreign investors?" Hartwell strode toward the alcove. Cole walked faster. Shadow lifted his head, ears tracking the approaching commotion. The dog didn't growl or bare his teeth. He'd been trained too well for that. He simply watched, waiting for instruction. Cole was 30 feet away when Hartwell reached the alcove. "Look at this," the CEO announced, loud enough for his entourage to hear. "Dirty, probably diseased, lying here like he owns the place." "Sir, maybe we should just call security to, I'll handle it myself." Cole was 20 feet away when Hartwell raised his foot. "Stop." The word came out harder than Cole intended. Several heads turned. Security personnel tensed. Hartwell didn't stop. He brought his Italian leather shoe down on Shadow's ribs. The dog made a sound Cole had heard only once before, in Kandahar, when the IED blast had thrown them both into darkness. A small, involuntary whine. Not loud, not dramatic, just the raw expression of unexpected pain from a creature who didn't understand cruelty for its own sake. Shadow tried to rise. His injured leg buckled. He collapsed back onto the concrete, and Hartwell laughed. "Look at that. Can't even stand properly. What kind of service is a crippled animal supposed to provide?" The entourage laughed with him. Phones captured the moment. Someone whispered, "Oh my God," but nobody moved to intervene. Cole was 10 feet away when Hartwell raised his foot again. "Let's see if we can teach it to move faster." The second kick caught Shadow in the side. The dog yelped, a sound that tore through Cole's careful control, like shrapnel through flesh. And then Cole was there. He didn't remember covering the final distance. One moment he was watching. The next, he stood between Hartwell and Shadow, his body blocking any third blow. "Step back." Cole's voice was quiet, conversational almost, but something in it made Hartwell's entourage retreat several steps. "Excuse me?" Hartwell stared at him, incredulous. "Do you know who I am?" "I know exactly who you are." "Then you know you're about to be unemployed. Who's your supervisor? I want this man removed immediately." "My dog," Cole said. "You kicked my dog." "You're—" Hartwell's eyes narrowed, reevaluating the situation. The janitor uniform, the polishing cloth forgotten somewhere behind, the service dog at his feet. "This is yours?" 9 years, 3 combat tours. He saved my life twice in Afghanistan and pulled me from burning wreckage in Kandahar. Cole's voice remained level, but his eyes had gone flat. "He's the reason I'm alive." "Well, that's very touching, but this is private property during a secure event. Your emotional support animal has no—" "He's not an emotional support animal. He's a service dog, legally documented, properly registered, fully trained. And you just assaulted him. Twice. in front of witnesses. On camera, Hartwell's expression flickered, the first crack in his confidence. He glanced around, noticing for the first time how many phones were pointed in their direction. This is ridiculous. I barely touched the animal. 2 broken ribs at minimum. Cole knelt beside Shadow, hands gentle as he checked the dog's breathing. Maybe internal bleeding. We'll know when the vet takes x-rays. Ribs? From a little tap? You're being dramatic. Cole stood slowly. He was taller than Hartwell by 2 inches, and broader by considerably more. In his maintenance uniform, pushing a mop, he'd been invisible. Now, with his shoulders squared and his stance balanced, he looked like exactly what he was. I'm going to take my dog to the emergency veterinary clinic. I'm going to document his injuries. I'm going to file a police report for animal cruelty. And then, I'm going to make sure everyone who just recorded this moment understands exactly what they witnessed. Are you threatening me? No, sir. I'm informing you. There's a difference. Cole gathered Shadow carefully in his arms. The dog whimpered, but didn't struggle. He trusted Cole completely, even in pain. You have no idea who I am. You have no idea what I'm capable of. And by the time you figure it out, it's going to be too late. Security! Hartwell's voice cracked slightly. Security! This man is making threats. I want him arrested. 2 guards approached, hands near their weapons. Cole turned to face them. Something in his stance made them hesitate. Maybe it was the way he held himself, balanced, controlled, revy. Maybe it was the look in his eyes, the flat assessment of a man calculating angles and distances. Or maybe they simply recognized, on some instinctive level, that this was not a janitor. Sir, the senior guard addressed Cole, not Hartwell. We need you to put the dog down and come with us. My dog needs medical attention. Your CEO just assaulted him in front of 50 witnesses. If you want to arrest someone, you might want to start there. Don't you dare. Hartwell's face had reddened. Do you know how much money I've spent on security contracts with this city? Do you have any idea the calls I can make? Make them, Cole said. I'll wait. You'll wait in a holding cell, you... Mr. Hartwell. The senior guard's voice was carefully neutral. Sir, perhaps we should discuss this inside. There are a lot of cameras. Hartwell looked around again. The crowd had grown. Not just his entourage now, but hotel staff, passing pedestrians, people who'd stopped to watch the confrontation. Phones everywhere, dozens of them. And suddenly, the calculation in his eyes shifted. The charming mask slid back into place. Of course, of course. This has all been a misunderstanding. He straightened his suit, adjusted his smile. I apologize if there was any confusion. I certainly didn't intend to harm anyone's pet. I hope the animal recovers quickly. He turned to his entourage. Inside, everyone. We have champagne to finish. The group retreated, though several kept glancing back at Cole. Within moments, only the guards remained. Sir, the senior guard said quietly, you should go. Take the dog to the vet. Don't come back to the building tonight. Am I being fired? I don't know, but I know you don't want to be here when Mr. Hartwell decides to escalate this. Whatever just happened, he won't forget it. And he won't forgive it. Cole nodded. What's your name? Sergeant Thomas Reed, Army, 2003 to 2011. I recognize the stance. SEAL Team 4, 2008 to 2016. Reed's eyes widened slightly. Get your dog help. And watch your back, brother. This building has more secrets than you want to know. The emergency veterinary clinic was a 30-minute drive in Cole's rusted pickup. Dr. Maya Chen met him at the door, her expression shifting from professional calm to concern when she saw Shadow in Cole's arms. What happened? Someone kicked him. Twice. Hard. Bring him in. Now. The next 2 hours were X-rays and examinations and IV fluids and painkillers. Cole sat in the waiting room, still wearing his maintenance uniform, still carrying the smell of industrial cleaning products, and scrolled through his phone. The video had already been posted. Someone in the crowd had uploaded it while Cole was driving. 15 minutes old, already 40,000 views. The title: Billionaire CEO attacks veterans' service dog. The comments were a firestorm. That's Victor Hartwell from Hartwell Dynamics, defense contractor, worth $2 billion.
He kicked a dog? What kind of monster kicks a dog?
That veteran's restraint was incredible. I would have destroyed that guy. Wait, is that janitor actually the dog's owner? And he just stood there and took it? Who is this guy? Someone trace him. Find out who the veteran is. He deserves support. Cole closed the app. His hands were shaking slightly. Not from fear, but from the adrenaline still working through his system. The encounter had triggered something he'd spent years trying to bury. The combat focus. The tactical assessment. The cold readiness to do whatever was necessary. He'd almost hurt Hartwell. Had considered, in a flash of clarity, exactly how to do it. 3 steps to close the distance. Palm strike to the chin. Knee to the solar plexus. Hartwell on the ground, gasping, before his security could react. He hadn't done it, but he'd wanted to. And that wanting scared him more than anything Hartwell could threaten. Dr. Chen emerged from the back, her expression serious, but not devastating. 2 cracked ribs. No internal bleeding, which is lucky. Some deep bruising. I want to keep him overnight for observation and pain management. Cole released a breath he hadn't known he was holding. He'll be okay? He'll recover. But Cole... She sat down across from him. This wasn't an accident. Someone did this deliberately? The CEO of Hartwell Dynamics. Kicked him like he was garbage. Jesus. Dr. Chen shook her head. Is there video? All over the internet by now. Good. Document everything. File a police report. And Cole, she hesitated. That thing I wanted to talk to you about. Shadow's blood work. The chill returned. What about it? I found trace amounts of a chemical compound I didn't recognize. I had to send it to a specialized lab for analysis. It came back as something called methylphosphonic dichloride. It's a precursor chemical. Precursor for what? Dr. Chen's voice dropped. Nerve agents. It's used in the production of chemical weapons. Cole went still. It's a tiny amount, she continued. Not dangerous to Shadow. Probably transferred from external contact. But Cole, this is a controlled substance. You can't just buy it. Where would Shadow have been exposed to something like this? Cole's mind raced. Shadow went everywhere he went. Home, the park, the grocery store, and Hartwell Dynamics. My job, he said slowly. I've been working night maintenance at Hartwell Dynamics for 3 months. Shadow waits outside, but I come home with chemicals on my clothes. I touch him. The transfer. Hartwell Dynamics, the defense contractor? Yes. Dr. Chen stared at him. Cole, they make drones and surveillance equipment. Communications technology. They don't manufacture chemical weapons. Officially. The word hung between them. Are you suggesting... I'm not suggesting anything. Cole stood, his body tight with sudden energy. I'm going to think, and then I'm going to make some phone calls. Cole, if you're right about this, if they're actually manufacturing, then the CEO who kicked my dog just became the least of my problems. He looked at Shadow through the window of the treatment room. The dog was sleeping now, sedated for the pain, chest rising and falling with each breath. Can I sit with him? Just for a few minutes? Of course. Take all the time you need. Cole entered the room and lowered himself into the chair beside Shadow's bed. He rested his hand on the dog's shoulder, feeling the warmth beneath the fur. "We're not done, buddy," he whispered. "That man doesn't know it yet, but he just woke up something he really should have let sleep." Shadow's tail moved once, a small, unconscious twitch. Cole pulled out his phone and dialed a number he hadn't used in 2 years. Marcus Webb answered on the second ring. "Cole! Jesus, brother! I've been trying to reach you for—" "I know. I'm sorry. I wasn't ready to hear it. And now?" Cole looked at Shadow, at the bandages around the dog's ribs, at the evidence of casual cruelty from a man who thought power meant never having to care. "Now I'm ready. Tell me everything about Thompson, and Martinez, and Rodriguez. Tell me what you found." "Cole, are you sure? Because once you know this, you can't unknow it. And these people, they don't let threats walk around breathing." "I was a SEAL for 8 years. I've been a threat my whole adult life." Cole's voice hardened. "Tell me." Marcus was quiet for a moment. Then, "It started with the drone guidance systems. Our guys found defects, serious defects, that caused targeting failures. Friendly fire incidents. American soldiers killed by American weapons. They reported it, and then they started dying." "How many?" 7 confirmed, all veterans, all former employees of companies connected to Hartwell Dynamics. All dead within 18 months of leaving." "And you have proof?" "I have pieces, documents, testimonies. Enough to know I'm right, not enough to prove it in court." Cole closed his eyes. "Maybe I can get more." "What are you talking about?" "The CEO of Hartwell Dynamics kicked my dog tonight, assaulted him in front of cameras. I'm about to become very famous, and very motivated, and very difficult to ignore." Silence on the line. Then Marcus laughed, a harsh, disbelieving sound. "He kicked Shadow? That beautiful dog? Twice. And you didn't kill him?" "I thought about it." "But you didn't?" "No." "Why?" Cole opened his eyes and looked at Shadow. "Because killing him would be too easy and too quick. And he deserves to lose everything slowly, watching it slip away, knowing exactly who took it from him." "Cole, I'm going to destroy him, Marcus. Not with violence, with truth. I'm going to expose every secret that company has, every crime they've committed, every veteran they've betrayed. And when it's over, Victor Hartwell is going to wish I'd just punched him in the face." Another long pause. "Then I guess you'd better start writing things down. Because, brother, you're going to need evidence, and I know exactly where to find it." Cole stayed with Shadow until midnight. He drove home through empty streets, his mind full of chemical compounds and dead teammates, and the sound his dog had made when a billionaire's shoe connected with his ribs. His apartment was cold and dark. He didn't bother with lights, just sat at the kitchen table, staring at the wall, letting his thoughts arrange themselves into something useful. His phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "You don't know me, but I know what Hartwell is. I know what he's done, and I have proof." Cole typed back, "Who is this?" "Someone who's been waiting 8 years for someone brave enough to stand up to him. Meet me tomorrow, noon, Lincoln Park by the chess tables. Come alone." "Why should I trust you?" "You shouldn't. But you should know that the chemical on your dog's fur, that's just the beginning. There's a building in the facility, Building 7, where they don't let anyone go. I've been inside. I've seen what's there." "What's there?" "The reason Victor Hartwell will do anything, to keep you quiet." Cole stared at the message. Another buzz. "By the way, I watched the video. 50 million views now. You're trending on every platform. The whole world is watching." "And what does that mean?" It means Victor Hartwell can't make you disappear quietly anymore. You just became too famous to kill. So he'll have to destroy you some other way. Be ready." The line went dead. Cole set down his phone and looked at the empty space where Shadow usually slept. The blanket was still there, still carrying the dog's scent. Tomorrow, he would meet a stranger in the park. He would learn secrets that people had died for. He would begin a journey that would either expose a monster or get him killed. Tonight, he was just a man missing his dog. He pulled the blanket close and waited for morning. Cole arrived at Lincoln Park 40 minutes early. Old habits. A SEAL never walked into an unknown situation without first knowing every exit, every angle, every place an ambush could hide. He circled the chess tables twice, bought coffee from a vendor, and positioned himself on a bench with clear sight lines in 3 directions. His phone hadn't stopped buzzing since dawn. The video had crossed 100 million views. News outlets were calling it the most viral animal cruelty case in internet history. Someone had identified him, probably a coworker selling information, and now his name was everywhere. Cole Brennan, Navy SEAL, Bronze Star recipient, 3 combat tours. The man who didn't fight back. That last part seemed to fascinate people most. Comments poured in by the thousands. "Why didn't he destroy that guy? I would have." That's the discipline of a real warrior. He could have killed Hartwell with his bare hands. This man is a hero. The restraint, the dignity. That's what real strength looks like. Cole closed the app. He didn't feel like a hero. He felt like a man who'd almost lost control and was still shaking from how close he'd come. At 11:47, a woman sat down on the opposite end of his bench. She was younger than he'd expected, early 30s, dark hair pulled back, professional clothes that looked expensive but understated. She carried a leather messenger bag and kept her hands visible, which Cole appreciated. "Mr. Brennan." "You're my mysterious contact?" "My name is Elena Hartwell." She paused, letting that land. "Victor Hartwell is my father." Cole's hand tightened around his coffee cup. This is a trap. If it were a trap, there would be men with guns surrounding us right now. There aren't. Check if you want. Cole had already checked. She was right. Why would Victor Hartwell's daughter contact me? Because I've been waiting 23 years for someone to bring him down, and last night, I watched a man stand in front of my father without flinching. Do you have any idea how rare that is? How many people he's destroyed because they were too afraid to fight back? I didn't fight. Exactly. You didn't fight. But you didn't break either. That's more dangerous than violence. Violence, my father understands. He knows how to crush it, how to redirect it, how to make it disappear. But dignity? Patience? The refusal to give him what he wants? That terrifies him. Cole studied her face, looking for tells, for deception, for the trap he still expected. "What do you want?" "I want to help you destroy him." "Why?" Elena's jaw tightened. Something old and painful moved behind her eyes. "Because when I was 16, I discovered what my father really does. I found files he thought were secure. I saw evidence of things that made me physically sick. And when I confronted him, do you know what he did?" "What?" "He laughed. He told me the world belonged to people willing to take it, and everyone else was just fuel for the engine. Then he cut me off financially, told everyone I was mentally unstable, and made sure no journalist or investigator would ever take my calls. That was 23 years ago. Why haven't you gone public?" "With what?" "He destroyed all the evidence I found. His lawyers are the best money can buy. Every time I've tried to build a case, it disappears. Witnesses recant. Documents vanish."
And people... She stopped. "People die?"
Elena nodded slowly.
My first attorney, car accident. My second, a sudden heart attack. My college roommate who agreed to help me investigate? Overdose. She'd never touched drugs in her life.
Cole felt the weight of Marcus's words from the night before. 7 veterans, all dead, all connected to Hartwell. So why approach me now? What's different?
You're different. You're too visible to disappear quietly.
100 million people watched my father assault your dog. The whole world knows your name and your face. If something happens to you, everyone will ask questions. Your father doesn't seem like a man who worries about questions. He worries about stock prices. He worries about defense contracts. He worries about the Department of Defense suddenly deciding his company isn't worth the risk. Elena leaned forward. The contract he just won? $500 million. Drone guidance systems for the military. It's the biggest deal in company history, and it's built on fraud. Cole's pulse quickened. What kind of fraud? The guidance systems don't work. They've never worked properly. There are targeting failures that cause the drones to hit wrong coordinates. American soldiers have died because of those failures, and my father knows. He's known for years. He covered it up. Thompson, Martinez, Rodriguez. Elena's eyes widened.
You know those names?
They were my teammates, my brothers. They all worked for companies connected to Hartwell after they left the service. They all found evidence of the defects. And they're all dead. For a moment, Elena said nothing. Her hands trembled slightly.
Then you understand, she finally said. You understand what he's willing to do to protect himself.
I'm starting to.
There's more. The chemical compound on your dog? That came from Building 7.
It's a research facility within the main complex. Maximum security, no outside contractors allowed. Officially, it's for advanced materials testing. Unofficially, they're developing chemical weapons. Elena nodded. For private buyers, foreign governments, anyone with enough money. My father doesn't just sell drones to the Pentagon. He sells things far worse to people far more dangerous. Cole sat back, processing. The scale of what she was describing, fraud, murder, illegal weapons development, was almost too large to comprehend. If you have all this information, why haven't you taken it to the FBI, the CIA, someone with actual power? Because my father has people in those organizations. People he pays. People who owe him. Every time I've tried official channels, he finds out within hours. The last FBI agent I spoke to? Transferred to a desk in Alaska 3 days later. The congressional staffer who agreed to meet me? Fired for performance issues. So what's your plan? I don't have a plan. I have resources. I have information. And now I have you. Elena opened her messenger bag and pulled out a thick manila envelope. Inside this are financial records, internal communications, and testimony from a whistleblower who's willing to go on record. His name is Daniel Reyes. He's worked in Building 7 for 8 years, and he wants out. Cole took the envelope, but didn't open it. Why should I trust you? You're his daughter. This could all be a setup. You shouldn't trust me. You shouldn't trust anyone connected to my father. But ask yourself this. What does he have to gain by giving you evidence against himself? If this were fake, why would I hand you documents that could put me in prison too? My signature is on some of those contracts. My name is on the company board. If you expose him, you expose me too.
Then why do it?
Elena's voice dropped to something barely above a whisper. Because I'm tired. I'm tired of carrying this weight alone. I'm tired of watching good people die while my father drinks champagne and makes speeches about American values. And I'm tired of pretending I don't know what kind of monster raised me. Cole looked at the envelope in his hands. It was heavy, the weight of secrets, of crimes, of all the darkness that lived beneath the polished surface of power.
"There's something else," Elena said. "Something I haven't told anyone." "What?" "My father has a vault in his office. Physical documents. Evidence he keeps in hard copy because he's paranoid about digital security. If you could get into that vault, you'd find everything. The original drone testing reports, the casualty lists he suppressed, the contracts with foreign buyers. Everything." "And how am I supposed to get into a billionaire's private vault?" Elena reached into her bag again and pulled out a small electronic device. "This is a keycard cloner. My father's security chief has a card that opens every door in the building, including the vault. You get me close to him, I clone the card, and you have access to everything." "Close to him how?" "There's a shareholder meeting next week. I'm required to attend as a board member. Security will be tight, but family has certain privileges. I can get you into the building as my guest. After that, it's up to you." Cole turned the device over in his hands. It looked expensive, professional, the kind of thing you didn't find at a spy shop. "This is insane," he said quietly. "Breaking into a billionaire's vault during a shareholder meeting? If I get caught, you'll disappear, I know. That's why you have to decide if it's worth the risk." Elena stood. "I'm staying at the Blackstone Hotel, room 1847. Decide by tomorrow night. After that, I'm flying back to New York, and this opportunity closes forever." She walked away without looking back. Cole sat on the bench for a long time, the envelope heavy in his lap, watching her disappear into the crowd. He went straight to the veterinary clinic. Shadow was awake when Cole entered the room, tail thumping weakly against the bedding. The dog's eyes tracked Cole's movement with that familiar combination of trust and concern, as if checking to make sure his human was okay. "Hey, buddy." Cole knelt beside the bed, letting Shadow sniff his hands. "I met someone interesting today. Victor Hartwell's daughter. She wants to help us take him down." Shadow's tail thumped again. "I know. Sounds crazy to me, too." Cole scratched behind the dog's ears. "But here's the thing. Those men who died, Thompson and Martinez and Rodriguez, they were our brothers. They deserved better. And if there's even a chance we can get justice for them." Dr. Chen appeared in the doorway. "He can go home today. The ribs are stable, and he's responding well to pain management. I'll send you with medication and instructions." "Thank you. For everything." "Cole." "Doctor." Chen stepped closer, lowering her voice. "I ran additional tests on that chemical compound. It's not just a nerve agent precursor. It's been modified, engineered to be undetectable by standard military screening. Whoever made this knew exactly what they were doing. Weapons grade. Beyond weapons grade. This is something new. Something designed to slip past every defense we have." She met his eyes. "Whatever Hartwell is building in that facility, it's not for the Pentagon. It's for someone who wants to hurt people without getting caught." Cole felt cold settle into his bones. "Can you document this? Officially?" "I already have. I've sent copies to 3 different secure locations, just in case. But Cole, if they find out what I know, they won't. I'll make sure of it." "How?" Cole gathered Shadow carefully into his arms. "By giving them something bigger to worry about." His apartment had been searched. Cole knew it the moment he opened the door. Nothing obvious. No overturned furniture, no scattered papers. But his military mind cataloged the differences instantly. The coffee cup on the counter had been moved 3 inches to the left. The books on his shelf were in a different order. The photo of his SEAL team had been taken out of its frame and replaced. They'd been thorough, professional. The kind of search designed to go unnoticed. Cole set Shadow gently on his bed and checked every room. Nothing stolen, nothing damaged.
Just a message. We know where you live. We can reach you anytime. His phone rang. Unknown number. Same area code as Hartwell Dynamics. Cole answered. Yes? Mr. Brennan. The voice was smooth, cultured, familiar. This is Victor Hartwell. Cole's hand tightened around the phone. Mr. Hartwell. I've been watching the news. Quite the celebrity you've become. Everyone loves a righteous victim, don't they?
What do you want?
To offer you an opportunity. $5 million, deposited into any account you choose, anywhere in the world. In exchange, you make a public statement retracting your accusations. You say the video was taken out of context. You say your dog was never seriously injured. And then you disappear.
Disappear.
New identity, new city, new life. All expenses paid. You could retire, Mr. Brennan. Live comfortably for the rest of your days. All you have to do is stop talking. Cole looked at Shadow, lying on the bed, bandages visible beneath his fur. You kicked my dog. An unfortunate misunderstanding. I was stressed from the event. I never intended. You kicked him twice, hard enough to break his ribs, and then you laughed. Silence on the line. Mr. Brennan, I don't think you understand the situation. $5 million is a generous offer. More than generous. But my generosity has limits.
Is that a threat?
It's a fact. I have resources you can't imagine. Friends in places you can't reach. The ability to make problems disappear in ways that don't leave traces. You're a smart man. You served your country. You know how the world works. I know how men like you work. You buy people until you can't, and then you break them. Everyone has a price, Mr. Brennan. Everyone.
Thompson didn't. Martinez didn't. Rodriguez didn't.
You couldn't buy them, so you killed them. Dead silence. Then, I have no idea what you're talking about. They were my brothers, my teammates. They worked for your company, and they found out about the drone defects, the targeting failures, the American soldiers who died because you sold faulty equipment to the Pentagon. And when they tried to report it, they had accidents. You're paranoid. A symptom of PTSD, I believe. Maybe. Or maybe I'm just a man who's finally putting the pieces together. Cole's voice hardened. Here's my counter-offer, Mr. Hartwell. You turn yourself in. You confess to fraud, to murder, to whatever else you're hiding in Building 7. And maybe, just maybe, I won't spend the rest of my life making sure you end up in a cell. You arrogant! Hartwell stopped himself. Cole could hear the effort to regain composure. You have no evidence. You have nothing but conspiracy theories and a wounded dog. Not yet, but I will. And how exactly do you plan to get this evidence? Cole smiled. You'll find out. Mr. Brennan, I'm going to destroy you. Not quickly, not cleanly. I'm going to take everything you have and everyone you care about, and I'm going to... Cole hung up. He looked at Shadow. The dog's eyes were open, watching him. Well, buddy, Cole said quietly, I think we just made a very powerful enemy, very angry. Shadow's tail wagged once. Yeah, I thought you'd like that. The next morning, Cole found Marcus Webb waiting outside his apartment. His former teammate looked exactly as Cole remembered. Broad-shouldered, quiet-eyed, with the comfortable alertness of a man who'd spent years expecting trouble. They embraced the way soldiers do, brief and hard. You look like hell, Marcus said. You drove 14 hours to tell me that? I drove 14 hours because you finally picked up the phone, and because the last 3 men I tried to warn are dead. Marcus's expression tightened. I'm not losing another brother, not to these people. They walked to a nearby diner, Cole's choice. Public location, easy exits. Shadow walked between them, limping slightly, but alert. "Tell me everything," Cole said once they were seated. Marcus pulled out a tablet and opened a folder of documents. "It started 18 months ago. Thompson called me, middle of the night, sounding scared. He'd been working quality control for a company called Meridian Aerospace, subcontractor for Hartwell Dynamics. Drone components? Guidance systems. The heart of the targeting software. Thompson found inconsistencies, error rates way higher than reported, test results that had been falsified. He tried to go up the chain. 3 weeks later, his car went off a bridge on an empty road at 2 a.m. Witnesses? None. Police called it driver fatigue. Case closed. Cole felt the familiar cold rage settling into his chest. Martinez? 6 months after Thompson. He'd been doing technical consulting for another Hartwell subsidiary. Found the same patterns: fraudulent testing, suppressed failure reports. He started keeping records secretly. His wife came home one day and found him dead in the garage. Carbon monoxide. They said it was suicide. But I talked to his wife, Maria. She said Martinez had never been happier. He'd just booked a trip to Hawaii for their anniversary. He was planning their daughter's quinceañera. Men don't kill themselves when they're planning parties. Rodriguez? Heart attack, at 41, in perfect health. 2 weeks after he emailed me saying he had something big, something that could bring down the whole operation. Marcus's voice cracked slightly. I was supposed to meet him the day after he died. He never made it. Cole stared at the documents on the tablet. Test reports, email chains, medical records that didn't add up. 3 deaths that should have been investigated and weren't. You've been building this case alone? I didn't have a choice. Every time I tried to involve someone else, they backed off or got scared or suddenly had career problems. It's like Hartwell has eyes everywhere. He does. His daughter told me he has contacts in the FBI, the CIA, probably military intelligence too. Money buys a lot of loyalty. Marcus's eyebrows rose. His daughter? Elena Hartwell. She contacted me yesterday. She's been trying to expose him for 20 years. And you trust her? No, but she gave me evidence, and she has a plan to get more. There's a shareholder meeting next week. She can get me inside the building. Inside the building where 3 of our brothers found evidence and died? Inside the building where Victor Hartwell keeps a vault full of original documents, proof of everything, the fraud, the murders, the weapons development. If I can get to that vault, if you can get to that vault, you'll either become the most famous whistleblower in history or the most thoroughly dead janitor in Chicago. Marcus shook his head. Cole, this is insane. You're talking about breaking into a billionaire's private security during a major corporate event. I'm talking about getting justice for Thompson and Martinez and Rodriguez. I'm talking about exposing a man who sells defective weapons to the military and kills anyone who finds out. I'm talking about making sure no more veterans die because Victor Hartwell values profit over people. Marcus was quiet for a long moment. Then, what do you need? I need you to watch Shadow. If something happens to me, he goes to you. That's not what I meant, and you know it. I know, but I'm not asking you to risk your life, Marcus. You have a family, kids, and you have nothing to lose? Cole looked at Shadow, lying beneath the table, patient as always. I have everything to lose. That's why I'm doing this. Because if I don't, I'll spend the rest of my life knowing I could have stopped him and didn't. Marcus reached across the table and gripped Cole's arm. Then I'm in. Whatever you need. Planning, surveillance, backup. You don't go into an operation like this without a team. This isn't your fight. Thompson was my friend. Martinez played poker with me every Thursday. Rodriguez saved my life in Fallujah. Marcus's eyes were hard. This became my fight the day they died. Cole felt something loosen in his chest, a weight he hadn't known he was carrying. "Okay," he said. "Then let's get to work." The next 72 hours were a blur of preparation. Marcus handled reconnaissance, building layouts, security rotations, contingency routes. Cole memorized every document Elena had given him, cross-referencing with Marcus's research until the connections formed a clear picture. Hartwell Dynamics wasn't just a defense contractor. It was a criminal enterprise operating under the protection of government contracts and political connections. The drone defects were just the beginning. Building 7 housed research that violated half a dozen international treaties, and the client list included governments that the United States officially considered enemies. Victor Hartwell wasn't just corrupt, he was a traitor. On the 4th day, Cole called Elena. "I'm in," he said. "The shareholder meeting is in 3 days. I'll add you to my guest list as security consultation. Can you be ready?" "I'll be ready." "Cole, there's something else. My father has been making calls, reaching out to his contacts in law enforcement and media. He's building a narrative that you're mentally unstable, that you've been harassing him, that the video was manipulated. Let him build. The truth doesn't care about narratives. He's also hired private investigators. They're digging into your past, your service record, everyone you've ever known. He's looking for leverage." Cole thought of his ex-wife, his estranged brother, the men he'd served with who'd seen him at his worst. He won't find anything that matters. Everyone has vulnerabilities. Then he can exploit mine. It won't change what he's done, and it won't stop me from exposing it. Elena was quiet for a moment. "You really aren't afraid of him?" "I've been afraid of worse things than Victor Hartwell. I've faced enemies who wanted me dead in places where nobody would ever find my body. Your father is just a man with money and power. Men like that fall harder than anyone." "I hope you're right." "I know I'm right. See you in 3 days." Cole hung up and looked at Marcus, who'd been listening from across the room. "Well," Marcus said, "I guess we're really doing this." "We're really doing this. Any last words of wisdom from your SEAL training?" Cole smiled grimly. "Yeah, never underestimate a cornered animal. And Victor Hartwell doesn't know it yet, but he just cornered himself in a room with 2 of them." Shadow lifted his head from his paws and thumped his tail once, as if in agreement. 3 days until the shareholder meeting. 3 days until everything changed. The morning of the shareholder meeting arrived with a phone call that changed everything. Cole was adjusting his borrowed suit, a navy blue number that Marcus had pulled from somewhere, slightly too tight across the shoulders, when his phone buzzed. Unknown number, Chicago area code. "Brennan." "Mr. Brennan, my name is Daniel Reyes. Elena told me to contact you directly." Cole's hands stilled on his tie. The whistleblower. The man who'd worked in Building 7 for 8 years. "I've been waiting to hear from you." "I don't have much time. They're watching me. They've been watching me for weeks." Reyes's voice was tight, barely controlled. "I have something you need to see. Something that changes everything." "What is it?" "Video. From inside Building 7. I recorded it 3 days ago, before they increased security. It shows the production line, the chemical compounds, the shipping manifests, everything." Cole felt his pulse quicken. "Where are you?" "I can't say. They have people everywhere. But I can get the video to you. There's a service entrance on the east side of the Hartwell building, near the loading docks. I'll leave a USB drive in the electrical panel, 3rd from the left. Get it during the meeting, before they find it." "Why can't you just email it?" "Because they monitor everything digital, every email, every cloud upload, every text message. Physical media is the only way." Reyes paused. Mr. Brennan, this video is proof. Real proof. The kind that puts people in prison for life. But if Hartwell finds it first, I'll get it. There's something else. Something I need to tell you in person. About your friends. The ones who died. Cole's grip tightened. Thompson. Martinez? Rodriguez? I knew them, all three. They came to Building 7 asking questions, and Reyes's voice cracked. I should have helped them. I should have given them what they needed. But I was scared, and now they're dead, and I have to live with that. You're helping now. That's what matters. Is it? Does it bring them back? Silence. Then, get the video, Mr. Brennan, and be careful. Hartwell knows you're coming today. He's prepared something. I don't know what, but I heard his security chief talking about neutralizing the threat, whatever that means. Thanks for the warning. Don't thank me. Just finish what they started. The line went dead. Cole stared at the phone, then looked at Marcus, who'd been listening from across the room. Change of plans, Cole said. I heard. USB drive in the electrical panel. I'll handle it while you're inside. No, I need you watching the exits. If something goes wrong, you'll need backup, not an exit strategy. Marcus crossed his arms. We go in together, we come out together. That's how it works. Marcus, don't give me the lone wolf speech. I've heard it before, and it didn't work then either. Marcus's voice softened. You're not alone in this anymore, brother. Stop trying to be. Cole held his gaze for a long moment, then nodded. Fine, but if I say run, you run. And if you say run, then things have gone very, very wrong. Marcus smiled grimly. Good. I was worried this would be boring. Elena met them in the parking garage beneath the Hartwell Dynamics Tower. She looked different than she had in the park. More polished, more controlled, the mask of a corporate board member firmly in place. But her eyes betrayed the same tension Cole felt in his own chest. Security is tighter than usual, she said, without preamble. My father added extra personnel this morning. Armed response teams on every floor. He's expecting trouble. He's expecting you. Elena handed Cole a laminated badge. This identifies you as private security attached to my personal detail. It'll get you through the main checkpoints, but it won't open restricted doors. That's what the clone key card is for. Which I still need to obtain. Elena glanced toward the elevator bank. The security chief, Harold Morrison, will be in the main conference room for the first hour of the meeting. I'll need to get close enough to clone his card without being noticed. How close? Within 3 feet. The cloner has limited range. That's very close. I'm aware. Elena's jaw tightened. I've been preparing for this moment for 20 years. I'm not going to fail now. They rode the elevator in silence. Cole felt the familiar pre-mission calm settling over him. The quiet focus that had carried him through dozens of operations in worse conditions than this. Whatever happened today, he was ready. The doors opened onto controlled chaos, shareholders in expensive suits, media representatives with cameras, security personnel stationed at regular intervals, their eyes scanning constantly. And at the center of it all, visible through the glass walls of the main conference room, Victor Hartwell. He looked confident, relaxed, like a man who'd already won whatever game was being played. Then his eyes found Cole across the crowded lobby. The smile didn't falter, but something cold flickered behind it. Recognition, calculation, the acknowledgement of an enemy in his territory. Hartwell raised his coffee cup in a mock toast. Cole didn't react. He simply held the gaze until Hartwell looked away. He knows you're here, Elena murmured. Good. Let him wonder what I'm planning. What are you planning? Exactly what I told him I would. Getting evidence and making sure it reaches people who can act on it. And if he tries to stop you? Cole smiled slightly. Then he'll learn why the Navy doesn't give Bronze Stars to men who give up easily. The first hour passed in tense waiting. Cole positioned himself near the conference room doors, playing his role as security consultant while watching for any opportunity. Elena moved through the crowd with practiced ease, exchanging greetings and accepting congratulations on the company's recent success. Marcus had entered through a service entrance and was making his way toward the loading docks. They communicated through earpieces, military grade, encrypted, untraceable. "I'm at the electrical panels," Marcus's voice crackled. "Third from the left, you said." "That's what Reyes told me." "Opening it now." Pause. "Got it. Small USB drive, taped to the inside of the panel cover. It's labeled B7, Evidence. Secure it and get out." "Already moving. But Cole, there are guards everywhere back here. More than there should be for a corporate event." Hartwell's nervous. "Good. Nervous people make mistakes." Cole watched as Elena approached the security chief, Harold Morrison, a thick-necked man in his 50s with the bearing of former military. She smiled, touched his arm, leaned in to say something that made him laugh. Her hand brushed his jacket pocket. 3 seconds, maybe 4. Then she stepped back, still smiling, and turned away. Cole's earpiece clicked. "Got it." Elena's voice was barely audible. "Card cloned." "How long until he notices?" "He won't. I only needed proximity, not physical contact with the card itself. The cloner reads through fabric." Then we moved to Phase 2. The vault is on the executive level, 43rd floor. Restricted access, but the clone card should get us through. Should? Nothing is certain with my father. He changes security protocols constantly. Cole caught her eye across the room and gave a slight nod. She returned it, then began moving toward the elevator bank. He followed at a distance, tracking the positions of security personnel. 2 near the main entrance, 3 more by the conference room, another 2 watching the elevators, and 1 directly in his path. "Mr. Brennan!" Cole stopped. The voice came from behind him, deep, authoritative, familiar. He turned to face Victor Hartwell. The CEO stood alone, coffee cup in hand, his entourage conspicuously absent. Up close, the man's confidence seemed almost physical, a force that pushed against everything around him. "Mr. Hartwell, I wasn't sure you'd actually show up. Most men would have taken the money and disappeared." "I'm not most men." "No, you're not." Hartwell stepped closer, lowering his voice. "You're a decorated veteran with PTSD, a failing career, and a dog that nearly died because of an unfortunate misunderstanding. You're also, apparently, someone who doesn't understand when he's outmatched." "I understand perfectly. I just don't care." Hartwell's smile tightened. "What exactly do you think you're going to accomplish here today? Do you imagine you'll find some smoking gun that brings down my empire? Some document that proves all your conspiracy theories?" "I don't need to imagine. I know." "You know nothing. You're a pawn in a game played by people far more intelligent than you." "Maybe, but pawns have a habit of reaching the other side of the board, and when they do, they become something much more dangerous." Hartwell studied him for a long moment, then laughed, a genuine sound, almost surprised. "I have to admit, I admire your courage, misguided as it is." He leaned closer. "But courage without power is just stubbornness. And stubbornness, Mr. Brennan, gets people killed." "Is that a threat?" "It's an observation, one that I hope you'll consider carefully before making any decisions you can't take back." Cole held his gaze. "I've already made my decision. I made it the moment you kicked my dog." "Ah, yes, the dog. Hartwell's expression flickered, something cold and dismissive. Still holding on to that, are you? I would have thought a man of your experience would have learned to let go of petty grievances. There's nothing petty about cruelty, Mr. Hartwell, and there's nothing petty about what you've done to the people who trusted you. The soldiers who died because of your defective equipment. The veterans you silenced. The laws you've broken. Prove it! I intend to. They stood face to face, two men who understood that only one of them would walk away from this unscathed. Hartwell broke first, not in defeat, but in dismissal. He stepped back, straightened his jacket, and smiled that practiced smile. Enjoy the meeting, Mr. Brennan. I suspect it will be quite memorable. He walked away without looking back. Cole watched him go, then touched his earpiece. Marcus, status? I'm out of the building. Got the USB drive. But Cole, there are black SUVs pulling up outside. 4 of them. That's not normal security. How many men? Can't tell. Windows are tinted. Cole's instincts screamed. Something was wrong. Something was very wrong. Elena, abort. Get out of the building now. I'm almost to the vault.
5 more minutes.
We don't have 5 minutes. Hartwell's moving. He's got something planned. I can see the door, Cole. I can see it. Just let me... A scream cut through the lobby. Then another. Then the lights went out. Emergency lighting bathed everything in red. Alarms blared. People scattered in every direction, their screams mixing with the shriek of electronic warnings. Cole dropped into a crouch, his training taking over as he processed the chaos. Gunfire. 2 floors up. Short bursts. Professional. Elena, report. I'm in the stairwell. Something's happening. I can hear shooting. Get down to the parking garage. Marcus will meet you. What about the vault? Forget the vault. This is a setup. Hartwell's cleaning house. Cole moved through the panicked crowd, his senses hyper-alert. The gunfire had stopped, but that didn't mean the threat was over. If anything, silence was worse. It meant the shooters were done with their current targets and moving to new ones. His phone buzzed. Unknown number. Mr. Brennan? This is Harold Morrison, head of security. What's happening? Terrorist attack. Armed men breached the building through the service entrance. We're in lockdown. Morrison's voice was clipped, professional, and completely calm. Too calm for the circumstances. Where are the shooters? 43rd floor, executive level. Where Elena had been heading. I'm going up. Negative. All non-security personnel are to evacuate immediately. Local police are en route. Then you won't mind if I help clear the building on my way out. Mr. Brennan, I strongly advise you to... Cole hung up and ran for the stairs. 3 floors up, he found the first body. A security guard. Young, probably late 20s. He'd been shot twice in the chest. Tight grouping. Professional work. His weapon was still holstered, which meant he'd never had a chance to draw. Cole took the gun and kept climbing. 2 more bodies on the 41st floor. Both guards. Both killed execution style. This wasn't a terrorist attack. This was a cleanup operation. Someone was eliminating witnesses. Cole's earpiece crackled. Cole, Elena's not responding. I can't reach her. I'm on my way to the 43rd floor. Keep trying. Those SUVs outside, they're leaving. Whatever they came to do, they're done. Then the shooters are extracting. I need to find Elena before they do. Cole reached the 43rd floor and eased open the stairwell door. The executive corridor was silent. Emergency lights cast long shadows across expensive carpeting. Office doors stood open, papers scattered, chairs overturned. Evidence of hasty evacuation. At the end of the hall, a single door stood closed. The vault. Cole moved toward it, weapon raised, senses straining for any sign of threat. He was 10 feet from the vault when he heard the voice. Stop right there, Mr. Brennan. Cole froze. Harold Morrison stepped out of a side office, a gun aimed at Cole's center mass. Behind him, two more men in tactical gear emerged from the shadows. Drop the weapon. Where's Elena? I said, drop the weapon. Cole calculated the angles. 3 men, all armed, all with clear lines of fire. No cover within reach. Survival probability? Minimal. He dropped the gun. Kick it toward me. Cole complied. Morrison smiled, a cold expression that matched nothing in his file as a former military man. I have to admit, you've been impressive. Most people would have been discouraged by now. But you just keep pushing. Where is Elena Hartwell? Safe, for now. Mr. Hartwell wants to speak with her personally about her betrayal. Morrison gestured to his men. Secure him. One of the tactical operators moved forward, zip ties in hand. Cole waited until the man was within arm's reach. Then he moved. His hand caught the operator's wrist, twisted, and used the man's momentum to drive him into his partner. Before Morrison could react, Cole had disarmed the first man and put him between himself and the security chief. Don't, Cole said calmly. I can kill him before you pull the trigger. Morrison's gun remained steady. And then I kill you. Probably, but your man dies first. And something tells me Mr. Hartwell doesn't like losing employees. Silence stretched between them. What do you want? Morrison finally asked. Elena, the vault contents, and safe passage out of this building. You're not in a position to negotiate. I'm in exactly the position I need to be. Your boss wants this quiet. No witnesses, no evidence, no complications. But if you shoot me, there's a video of everything that's happened today streaming live to 3 different servers. By the time you figure out how to stop it, every news network in the country will have the footage. Morrison's eyes narrowed. You're bluffing. Am I? Cole smiled grimly. Ask yourself something. Would a man who faced you with nothing but courage and a borrowed suit really come here without backup? Without insurance? The bluff was thin. Marcus had the USB drive, but there was no streaming video, no backup plan beyond survival. But Morrison didn't know that, and uncertainty was a weapon too. Let me make a call, Morrison said. You have 30 seconds. Morrison pulled out a phone and dialed. Cole couldn't hear the conversation, but he watched the security chief's face cycle through several emotions. Frustration, anger, finally, resignation. Mr. Hartwell will see you, both of you. Morrison holstered his weapon. Release him. Cole shoved the tactical operator away and straightened his jacket. Where? The conference room, 44th floor. Morrison's expression was unreadable. But I should warn you, Mr. Brennan. Whatever you think you've won, you haven't. Victor Hartwell doesn't lose. He just changes the game. They took Cole up 1 floor in an elevator that smelled of fear and expensive cologne. The conference room was empty except for 3 people. Victor Hartwell, seated at the head of a massive table. Elena, restrained in a chair beside him, her face bruised. And a woman Cole didn't recognize, older, severe, with the cold eyes of someone who'd long ago made peace with violence. Mr. Brennan, Hartwell didn't rise. Please, sit. I'll stand. Suit yourself. Hartwell gestured at Elena. I believe you know my daughter. She's been remarkably foolish today, but then she's always had a weakness for lost causes. Let her go. In time. First, we need to discuss the situation you've created. Hartwell steepled his fingers. You have something that belongs to me. A USB drive containing fabricated evidence and false accusations. The evidence isn't fabricated, and you know it. What I know is that you're holding stolen property that, if released, would cause significant damage to national security. Hartwell smiled thinly. Do you understand what that means? It means I can have you arrested, tried, and imprisoned without any of this ever becoming public. It means I can make you disappear into a hole so deep that even your SEAL friends won't be able to find you. Then why am I still breathing? Because I'm curious. Hartwell leaned forward. What did you think would happen, Mr. Brennan? Did you imagine you'd walk in here, find some incriminating documents, and bring down my entire empire? Did you think it would be that simple? I thought I'd get justice for the men you killed. Thompson, Martinez, Rodriguez. They deserved better than car accidents and fake suicides. Ah, yes, your teammates. Hartwell's expression didn't change. They were regrettable, truly. Good men who asked the wrong questions at the wrong time. If they'd simply accepted the offers I made them. You made them offers? Of course, generous ones. But they had principles. Inconvenient things, principles. They get in the way of progress. Cole felt his control slipping. You murdered them. I protected my company, my employees, my country. Hartwell's voice hardened. Do you have any idea what we're building here? The technology that will keep America safe for the next 50 years. The weapons that will ensure our enemies never threaten us again. Weapons you're selling to our enemies. To everyone. That's the beauty of it. We sell to both sides, and both sides need us. It's the perfect business model. It's treason. It's capitalism, Hartwell smiled. And capitalism, Mr. Brennan, always wins. Cole looked at Elena. Her eyes were clear despite the bruises, angry, determined, unbroken. Here's what's going to happen, Hartwell continued. You're going to return the USB drive. You're going to sign a document admitting that you fabricated evidence against me. And then you're going to disappear, quietly, permanently, but alive. And if I refuse, then my associate here, he gestured at the severe woman, will ensure that your dog suffers a fatal accident within the hour, followed by Dr. Chen, followed by your friend, Marcus Webb, followed by everyone else you've ever cared about. Cole's hands clenched into fists. Don't be stupid, Hartwell said. You've lost. Accept it with whatever dignity you have left. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then Cole smiled. It wasn't a pleasant expression. It was the smile of a man who'd been waiting for exactly this moment. You're right about one thing, Cole said. This isn't simple. It's not going to end with a USB drive and some documents. It's going to end with you in a cell, your empire dismantled, and your name synonymous with everything this country claims to hate. Bold words from a man with no leverage. No leverage, Cole laughed, a genuine sound that seemed to startle Hartwell. The USB drive isn't my leverage. It's just evidence. My leverage is the 37 veterans who've been waiting for someone to take the first shot. The journalists who've been investigating you for years without enough proof to publish. The congressional staffers who've suspected you but couldn't act. The FBI agents who wanted to bring you down but were blocked by your connections. Hartwell's smile faltered. What are you talking about? I'm talking about the moment you've been afraid of since you started building this empire of lies. The moment when someone with nothing to lose finally decides to pull the thread. Cole stepped closer. You thought I was alone. You thought I was just an angry veteran with a wounded dog and a grudge. But I'm not alone. I've never been alone. And right now, while you're sitting here threatening my friends, a network of people who hate you are receiving copies of everything Daniel Reyes recorded. That's impossible. You intercepted one copy. There were 7. Cole smiled again. Like I said, Victor, I didn't come here without backup. The door burst open. Marcus stood in the threshold, weapon raised, with 6 men behind him, all veterans, all armed, all wearing the same expression of controlled fury. FBI is 3 minutes out, Marcus said. Local police have the building surrounded. It's over, Hartwell. For the first time since Cole had met him, Victor Hartwell looked afraid. "This isn't possible. I have people in the FBI. You had people. Past tense." Marcus moved into the room. "Turns out they liked money, but they liked their freedom more. When they found out what was on that USB drive, they decided cooperation was smarter than loyalty." Cole walked to Elena and began untying her restraints. "You okay?"
"I've been better," she rubbed her wrists. "But I've also been waiting 20 years for this moment. So I'll survive."
Victor Hartwell stood slowly, his face cycling through rage, disbelief, and finally, something that might have been acceptance. "You think this is over?" he said quietly. "You think you've won? I have resources you can't imagine. Lawyers, connections, leverage. This will take years to prosecute, and by the time it's finished, Cole said, everyone in America will know exactly what kind of man you are. The soldiers you killed, the weapons you sold, the veterans you silenced. Every secret you've kept for 30 years will be public record. And what about you, Mr. Brennan? What do you get out of this?" Cole thought of Shadow, lying in his apartment, trusting him to come home. He thought of Thompson and Martinez and Rodriguez, who deserved so much better than they'd gotten. He thought of all the veterans who'd been used and discarded by men like Victor Hartwell. "Justice," Cole said simply. "I get justice." The FBI arrived 4 minutes later. The federal courthouse became Cole's second home for the next 11 months. He testified 17 times, 17 different hearings, depositions, and grand jury appearances where lawyers asked the same questions in slightly different ways, searching for inconsistencies that didn't exist because the truth doesn't contradict itself. "Mr. Brennan, can you describe again what you witnessed on the night of January 15th? Mr. Brennan, how did you obtain access to the restricted areas of Hartwell Dynamics? Mr. Brennan, is it true that you harbored a personal vendetta against Victor Hartwell?" Cole answered every question the same way, calmly, completely, without embellishment or emotion. The prosecutors had told him that juries responded to authenticity, and authenticity was all he had to offer. Shadow waited outside each hearing, watched over by Marcus or Dr. Chen or one of the 37 veterans who'd become an unofficial network of support. The dog had healed well, his ribs mended, his limp improved with physical therapy, but he still pressed close to Cole's leg whenever they were together, as if checking to make sure his human hadn't disappeared. "You're a good boy," Cole would tell him after each long day. "The best boy." Shadow would thump his tail once, accepting the praise as his due. The media coverage was relentless. Every network ran the story. Every newspaper published front-page articles about the veteran who'd exposed one of America's most powerful defense contractors. Cole's face appeared on magazine covers, interview requests piled up by the hundreds, and strangers stopped him on the street to shake his hand. He refused every interview. He declined every appearance. He wanted justice, not fame, and the two rarely coexisted. Elena testified too, for 6 brutal days where her father's lawyers tried to paint her as a mentally unstable woman with a grudge against her family. She endured questions about her childhood, her failed relationships, her psychiatric history that Victor had fabricated years ago to discredit her. "Ms. Hartwell, isn't it true that you were hospitalized for depression in 2015? "Yes. After my father had me committed against my will for asking questions about his business." "And isn't it true that you've made numerous unsubstantiated claims about your father over the years?" "I've made true claims that were suppressed through legal intimidation and bribery." "Objection, Your Honor." "Sustained." Elena never broke, never cried, never gave them the satisfaction of seeing her doubt herself. Cole watched her from the gallery and felt a respect that went beyond admiration. She'd spent 20 years fighting this battle alone. Now, Finally, she had allies. Daniel Reyes's testimony was the cornerstone of the prosecution's case. The former Building 7 employee spent 9 days on the stand, walking through documents, explaining technical processes, identifying signatures on classified contracts. His voice shook sometimes, but his facts never wavered. "Mr. Reyes, can you identify this document?" "Yes, it's a shipping manifest for chemical precursors sent to a buyer in North Korea." Gasps from the gallery, murmurs from the press section. "And this signature at the bottom? That's Victor Hartwell's personal authorization. I watched him sign it myself." The defense tried everything. They attacked Reyes's credibility, his motives, his personal life. They suggested he'd been bribed, coerced, manipulated. They implied he was a disgruntled employee seeking revenge. None of it stuck. The evidence was too overwhelming. The USB drive Marcus had retrieved contained over 40,000 documents. Internal communications, financial records, test results, casualty reports. Combined with Elena's files and Reyes's testimony, it painted a picture of systematic fraud, negligent homicide, and illegal weapons trafficking spanning nearly 2 decades. Victor Hartwell sat through every proceeding with the same expression, calm, controlled, faintly amused, as if the entire trial was a minor inconvenience that would soon be resolved. His lawyers filed motion after motion, challenged every piece of evidence, questioned every witness's credibility. But the truth kept piling up. 47 counts of fraud, 12 counts of negligent homicide, 8 counts of illegal weapons trafficking, 3 counts of obstruction of justice, and 17 counts of witness intimidation, one for each veteran who'd been threatened, silenced, or killed to protect Hartwell's secrets. The families of Thompson, Martinez, and Rodriguez attended every day of the trial. Cole met them during the first week. Maria Martinez, quiet and dignified, clutching a photo of her husband. Sarah Thompson, fierce and determined, demanding answers. Lisa Rodriguez, barely holding herself together, crying each time her husband's name was mentioned.
"Thank you,"
Maria told Cole during a break, "for not forgetting them. I could never forget them. They were my brothers."
"They talked about you, you know. All 3 of them. They said if anyone could see the truth, it would be Cole Brennan. They believed in you."
Cole felt his throat tighten. "I wish I'd believed in myself sooner."
"You're here now. That's what matters."
The prosecution's closing argument lasted 4 hours. The lead attorney, a veteran herself who'd lost her brother to one of Hartwell's defective drones, spoke without notes, her voice carrying to every corner of the courtroom. "Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, this case is not about one man's cruelty to a dog. It's about a pattern of behavior that stretches back decades. Victor Hartwell built his empire on lies, maintained it through fear, and protected it with murder. He sold defective weapons to our military, knowing they would fail. He developed chemical compounds for foreign enemies, knowing they would be used against innocent people. And when brave men and women tried to expose the truth, he silenced them permanently." She paused, letting the weight of her words settle. "The defense wants you to believe this is a vendetta, that Cole Brennan, Elena Hartwell, and Daniel Reyes are all motivated by personal grievances rather than truth. But ask yourselves, what do these witnesses have to gain? Cole Brennan lost his job, his home, his privacy. Elena Hartwell destroyed her relationship with her only living parent. Daniel Reyes gave up a lucrative career and will spend the rest of his life looking over his shoulder. They didn't do this for money. They didn't do it for fame. They did it because they couldn't live with the alternative. They did it because silence had become complicity, and complicity had become too heavy to carry." She turned to face Victor Hartwell directly. The defendant believed he was untouchable. He believed his money, his connections, his power, made him immune to justice. He was wrong, because in this country, nobody is above the law. Not even billionaires. Not even defense contractors. Not even men who think they can kick a veteran's dog and walk away laughing. The jury deliberated for 6 days. Cole spent those days in a small apartment the FBI had secured for him, unable to eat, unable to sleep, unable to do anything except wait. Shadow stayed pressed against his side, sensing his anxiety, offering the only comfort that mattered. Marcus visited on the 3rd day. "How are you holding up?" "I've been better." The waiting is always the worst part. In the field, you can act, you can make decisions. Here, you just sit. "What if they acquit him?" "They won't." "You don't know that. His lawyers are good. The evidence is complicated. The jury might—" "Cole." Marcus gripped his shoulder. "I've sat in that courtroom for 11 months. I've watched those jurors' faces. They believe. They understand. They're going to do the right thing. And if they don't, then we find another way. But they will." On the 6th day, the jury returned. Cole sat in the gallery with Marcus on one side and Elena on the other. Shadow waited outside with Dr. Chen, too well known now to enter public buildings without causing a commotion. The courtroom was packed. Every seat filled, people standing along the walls, media cameras recording every moment. The families of the victims sat in the front row, their faces drawn with exhaustion and hope. Victor Hartwell stood as the jury filed in. For the first time since the trial began, Cole saw something other than confidence in the man's posture. A slight tension in his shoulders, a tightness around his eyes, the beginning of fear. "Has the jury reached a verdict?" "We have, Your Honor." The foreperson, a middle-aged woman with gray hair and steady hands, accepted the verdict form from the bailiff. "On the charge of fraud in the 1st degree, count 1. How does the jury find?" "Guilty." "On the charge of fraud in the 1st degree, count 2. How does the jury find?" "Guilty." The word repeated 47 times. 47 counts of fraud. Guilty on every single one. "On the charge of negligent homicide, count 1. How does the jury find?" "Guilty." 12 times. 12 dead soldiers. 12 guilty verdicts. "On the charge of illegal weapons trafficking, count 1. How does the jury find?" "Guilty." 8 times. 8 violations that would have been considered treason in wartime. "On the charge of witness intimidation, count 1. How does the jury find?" "Guilty." 17 times. Thompson, Martinez, Rodriguez. 14 others whose names Cole had learned over the past year, whose families had suffered in silence for too long. By the time the foreperson finished reading, Maria Martinez was sobbing openly. Sarah Thompson had her arms around Lisa Rodriguez. Elena sat perfectly still, tears streaming down her face. 23 years of pain finally finding release. Victor Hartwell stood motionless as the verdicts piled up. His expression didn't change, but Cole watched the light go out of his eyes. The moment when a man who'd believed himself invincible finally understood that he was just a man. "Mr. Hartwell, you have been found guilty on all counts. Sentencing will take place in 30 days. Until that time, you are remanded to federal custody without bail." The marshals approached. Handcuffs clicked into place. Victor Hartwell, billionaire, defense contractor, murderer, was led away like any other criminal. He didn't look back. The courtroom erupted. Reporters shouted questions. Family members embraced. Someone started applauding, and the sound spread until the entire gallery was on its feet. Cole sat quietly through all of it, his hands folded in his lap, his eyes on the door through which Hartwell had disappeared. Marcus leaned close. "How do you feel?" Cole thought about the question, thought about everything that had led to this moment. The kick that started it all, the investigation, the fear, the determination, the long months of testimony and waiting. "Empty," he finally said. "I thought I'd feel triumphant, satisfied, something. But I just feel empty. That's normal. Closure doesn't feel the way we expect it to." "Will it get better?" "Yeah, brother. It'll get better. But right now, you need to go outside and see your dog. He's been waiting for you." Cole nodded slowly and stood. The crowd parted as he walked toward the exit. Hands reached out to touch his shoulder, to shake his hand, to thank him. He acknowledged them all with small nods, but didn't stop until he reached the doors. Shadow was waiting on the courthouse steps, Dr. Chen holding his leash. The dog's tail started wagging the moment he saw Cole, his whole body vibrating with joy. Cole knelt and wrapped his arms around Shadow's neck. The dog leaned into him, warm and solid and real. "We did it, buddy," Cole whispered. "We got him." Shadow licked his face once, then pressed his head against Cole's chest. They stayed like that for a long time, a man and his dog, surrounded by cameras and crowds, and the beautiful chaos of justice finally served. The sentencing hearing took place on a Tuesday morning in late November. Cole arrived early, Shadow walking beside him, both of them calmer than they'd been in over a year. The verdict had lifted something, not the grief, not the loss, but the weight of carrying secrets that no one believed. The courtroom filled quickly. Same faces as before. The families, the veterans, the journalists who'd covered every moment of the trial. Elena sat in the front row, her expression composed but her hands clasped tightly in her lap. Victor Hartwell was brought in wearing an orange jumpsuit instead of a tailored suit. The transformation was striking. He seemed smaller somehow, diminished, as if the power he'd wielded had been physical and was now drained away. The judge, a stern woman in her 60s who'd presided over the entire trial with unwavering impartiality, reviewed documents for several minutes before speaking. "Mr. Hartwell, you have been convicted of 87 felonies spanning fraud, negligent homicide, illegal weapons trafficking, and witness intimidation. Before I deliver your sentence, do you have anything you wish to say to this court?" Hartwell stood slowly. For a moment, Cole thought he would refuse to speak, that his arrogance would extend even to this final moment. Then he turned to face the gallery. "I built something," he said quietly. "Something that mattered. Something that kept this country safe for 30 years. The decisions I made weren't always clean, but they were necessary. History will remember that." "Is that all, Mr. Hartwell?" "No." His eyes found Cole in the crowd. "I want to say something to Mr. Brennan." The judge hesitated, then nodded. "Proceed." Hartwell held Cole's gaze. "You think you've won. You think this is justice. But you've destroyed something you don't understand. The relationships I built, the technology I developed, the protection I provided, all of it gone because a janitor couldn't let go of a grudge over a dog." Cole didn't respond, didn't need to. "I don't apologize," Hartwell continued. "I don't regret. I did what had to be done. And if that makes me a monster in your eyes, so be it. Monsters are necessary. Monsters keep the wolves at bay." "Are you finished, Mr. Hartwell?" "Yes." The judge looked at him for a long moment. "Mr. Hartwell, in my 30 years on the bench, I've heard many defendants claim that their crimes were necessary, that circumstances justified their actions, that history would vindicate them I've never believed a single one of them, and I don't believe you." She removed her glasses and set them aside. "You didn't protect this country. You exploited it. You didn't keep us safe. You endangered us for profit. And you didn't do what had to be done. You did what served your own interests and convinced yourself it was noble. The soldiers who died because of your defective equipment were someone's children, someone's parents, someone's siblings. They trusted their country to give them weapons that worked, and you betrayed that trust for money. The veterans you silenced were heroes who deserved medals, not murder. They tried to do the right thing, and you killed them for it. And the dog you kicked? That animal showed more courage and loyalty in one moment than you've shown in your entire life." She put her glasses back on. "Victor Hartwell, I hereby sentence you to serve 45 years in federal prison, to run consecutively, without the possibility of parole. Your assets are to be seized and distributed to the families of your victims and to veteran support organizations. Your company is dissolved, its contracts voided, its remaining technology transferred to government oversight." She looked at him one final time. "May God have mercy on your soul, Mr. Hartwell, because I certainly don't." The gavel fell. Cole didn't celebrate. He went home to his small apartment, fed Shadow, and sat on the floor with his back against the couch, staring at nothing. 45 years. Hartwell would die in prison. His empire was gone. His name would be synonymous with betrayal for generations. It should have felt like victory. Instead, Cole just felt tired. His phone buzzed. A text from Elena. "Thank you. For everything. I couldn't have done this without you." He typed back. "You could have. You just didn't have to." Another text, this one from Marcus. "Drinks tonight? The team wants to toast properly." Cole looked at Shadow. The dog was watching him with that patient expression, tail moving slowly, waiting to see what came next. "What do you think, buddy? Should we go be social?" Shadow's tail wagged faster. "Yeah, I thought you'd say that." He pulled himself up, grabbed his jacket, and headed for the door. Shadow fell into step beside him, moving easier now, his limp barely noticeable. The bar Marcus had chosen was a veteran-owned place near the waterfront. Nothing fancy, just good drinks and better company. When Cole walked in, the room erupted in applause. 37 veterans. The network that had formed around him over the past year, bound by shared service and a common enemy. They'd shown up at every hearing, provided security, gathered information, and asked for nothing in return except the chance to see justice done. Marcus handed him a beer. "Speech?" "No speeches, just drinks." "Boring." Marcus grinned. "But fair." They drank, they talked. They shared stories about Thompson and Martinez and Rodriguez. Not the sad stories, but the funny ones. The time Thompson had gotten lost during a training exercise and ended up in a civilian wedding. The time Martinez had convinced their entire unit that there was a regulation requiring them to wear their uniforms backward on Thursdays. The time Rodriguez had smuggled a stray puppy onto a transport helicopter and kept it hidden for 3 weeks. Good men, good soldiers. Gone too soon, but not forgotten. Dr. Chen arrived around 9, still in her clinic scrubs. "Sorry I'm late. Emergency surgery on a German shepherd who swallowed a tennis ball whole." "Outcome?" "Successful. The dog will make a full recovery. The tennis ball, less so." Cole laughed, a genuine sound that surprised him. He couldn't remember the last time he'd laughed without effort. "How's Shadow doing?" Dr. Chen asked. "Better. The physical therapy's helping. He's almost back to normal." "And how are you doing?" Cole considered the question. "I don't know yet. Ask me tomorrow." "Fair enough." She raised her glass. "To tomorrow, then." to tomorrow. They clinked glasses. Around midnight, the crowd began to thin. Veterans exchanged handshakes and promises to stay in touch. Dr. Chen headed home for an early morning shift. Marcus lingered, nursing a final beer. "What's next for you?" he asked. "I don't know. Haven't thought that far ahead." "You could consult. Security work. Plenty of companies would pay good money for someone with your skills and reputation." "Maybe." Cole scratched behind Shadow's ears. "Or maybe I do something different." "Like what?" "I keep thinking about all those veterans who came forward during the trial. The ones who'd been threatened, silenced, pushed out of the system. They had no one to turn to, no one to believe them." "You want to help them?" "I want to create something. A place where veterans and their dogs can heal together. Where people like Thompson and Martinez and Rodriguez can come when they need support, not suspicion." Marcus was quiet for a moment, then nodded. "That sounds like something worth building." "Yeah," Cole looked at Shadow. "I think it does." They finished their drinks and walked out into the cold November night. The city glowed around them, indifferent to everything that had happened, already moving on to the next crisis. But Cole felt different than he had that morning. The emptiness was still there, but something else was growing alongside it. Not peace exactly, more like purpose. He'd spent 14 years learning how to destroy things, how to infiltrate, neutralize, eliminate. He'd been good at it, good enough to earn medals and commendations, and the respect of men who'd seen the worst the world have to offer. Now it was time to learn how to build. Shadow walked beside him, breath misting in the cold air, tail swaying with each step. The dog didn't know about trials or sentences or justice. He only knew that his human was beside him, that they were going home, and that tomorrow would bring new walks and new adventures. Sometimes, Cole thought, dogs understood the important things better than people did. "Come on, buddy," he said softly. "Let's go home." They disappeared into the night together, man and dog, leaving the past behind and walking toward whatever came next. The building had been a fire station once, back when the neighborhood still had money and the city still cared about things like response times and community infrastructure. Cole signed the lease on a Tuesday morning in March, 18 months after Victor Hartwell's sentencing. The settlement from the civil lawsuit, combined with donations from veterans across the country who'd followed his story, had given him enough to renovate the space and hire a small staff. Not much, not fancy, but enough. "You sure about this?" Marcus asked, standing in the empty bay where fire trucks had once waited. "Running a nonprofit is harder than running an op. More paperwork, more regulations, more people telling you what you can't do." "I'm sure. Because once you start, you can't just walk away. People will depend on you." Cole looked at Shadow, who was exploring the space with careful curiosity, nose working overtime. "People already depend on me. The difference is, now I can actually help them." Marcus nodded slowly. "What are you calling it?" "Second watch." "Second watch?" "Because some of us already stood the first one. This is what comes after." Marcus was quiet for a moment. Then he extended his hand. "I'm in. Whatever you need. Planning, fundraising, construction. I'm in." Cole shook it. "I was hoping you'd say that." They spent the next 4 months transforming the space. Marcus handled logistics, while Cole focused on program development, researching best practices for veteran support and service dog training. Dr. Chen agreed to provide veterinary care at cost. Elena Hartwell, who'd inherited nothing from her father's dissolved empire, but had built a successful consulting practice of her own, wrote the first major donation check. "Consider it back pay," she told Cole when he tried to refuse. "For 20 years of doing what I couldn't."
"Elena, I can't. You can. You will. And you'll use it to help people who need it more than I need another zero in my bank account." She smiled, a genuine expression
that Cole had rarely seen during the trial. My therapist says I should focus on building instead of destroying. This seems like a good place to start. The staff came together gradually. A retired firefighter named Helen Murray, who'd lost her career to smoke inhalation and her purpose to depression. A former paramedic named James Okonkwo, whose hands still shook when sirens passed. A young woman named Rosa Alvarez, with soft brown eyes and a scar along her forearm from a flood rescue that had ended her career. Each of them brought their own wounds. Each of them found something in Second Watch that helped those wounds heal. And the veterans came. They came tentatively at first, men and women who'd heard about the program through VA channels or word of mouth, or the occasional news story that still popped up about Cole Brennan, the janitor who'd brought down a billionaire. They came with German shepherds and Labrador retrievers and mixed breeds pulled from shelters across the Midwest. They came with nightmares and tremors and the particular silence of people who'd seen too much and talked about it too little. Cole met each one personally. "What's your name?" "David. David Chen. No relation to your vet." "What branch, David?" "Marine Corps. 2 tours in Iraq." "And this guy?" David looked at the black lab mix pressing against his leg. "His name's Bear. I got him from a rescue 6 months ago. He's the only reason I'm still here." Cole understood that sentence better than most people could. "Then let's make sure you're both here for a long time. Come on, I'll show you around." He didn't give speeches. He didn't offer platitudes or motivational quotes or empty promises. He just worked, teaching veterans how to train their dogs, how to build trust, how to translate the bond between human and animal into something that could carry them through the darkest nights. Shadow became the heart of the program. At 10 years old, the Belgian Malinois had slowed down considerably. His muzzle had gone fully gray, and the limp from his old injury was more pronounced in cold weather. But his presence remained powerful, a calm, steady anchor that somehow communicated to anxious dogs and traumatized veterans alike that everything would be okay. "How does he do that?" Rosa asked one afternoon, watching Shadow work with a particularly skittish German shepherd who'd been cowering in the corner for 3 days. "Do what?" "Get through to them. The dogs that won't let anyone close." "He just walks up, and they relax." Cole watched Shadow settle beside the frightened dog, not demanding attention, just being present. "He knows what it's like to be hurt. He knows what it's like to be scared. And he knows that sometimes the best thing you can do is just show up and stay." "Did you teach him that?" "No. He taught me." The German shepherd, a young female named Luna who'd been rescued from an abusive situation, inched closer to Shadow. Her tail, which had been tucked tight for days, gave a tentative wag. "Progress," Rosa whispered. "Progress," Cole agreed. The first year passed in a blur of small victories and daily challenges. Second Watch served 47 veterans in its initial 12 months. Not all of them completed the program. Some disappeared back into their old patterns, unable or unwilling to accept help. But most stayed. Most improved. Most left with something they hadn't had when they arrived. Hope. Cole received letters, dozens of them, handwritten notes from veterans who'd found jobs again, reconnected with families, learned to sleep through the night. Each one felt like a small miracle. "Mr. Brennan, I wanted you to know that Bear and I walked my daughter down the aisle last weekend. 2 years ago, I couldn't leave my apartment. Thank you for giving me back my life." "Cole, this is probably weird, but I taught my dog to wake me up when the nightmares start. It's the first time in 8 years I've slept more than 3 hours at a stretch. I don't know how to repay you." "Sir, you probably don't remember me. I came to Second Watch in June. The guy with the pit bull mix everyone said was too aggressive to train. Well, Brutus just passed his therapy dog certification. We're visiting hospitals now. Kids love him. I thought you should know. Cole kept every letter in a box under his bed. On the hard days, and there were still hard days, he pulled them out and read them, reminding himself that the work mattered. Maria Martinez visited in October. She'd aged since the trial. More gray in her hair, deeper lines around her eyes. But something in her had softened too. The sharp grief that had defined her during the proceedings had mellowed into something quieter. Acceptance, maybe. Or just the passage of time doing what it did. I wanted to see it, she told Cole, looking around the renovated fire station. The thing you built. It's not much. It's everything. She turned to face him. Roberto would have loved this. He always said you were the best of them. The one who'd figure out how to make a difference. I just wish he could have been here to see it. He is. Maria touched her chest. He's here. He's always here. She paused. I have something for you. Something Roberto wanted you to have. She pulled a small box from her purse and handed it to Cole. Inside was a challenge coin. The kind military units gave to their members, a symbol of belonging and shared sacrifice. He carried it everywhere, Maria said, through both deployments. He said it reminded him of his brothers. Cole turned the coin over in his hand. On one side, the seal trident. On the other, 3 words. Never give up. I can't take this. You're not taking it. You're keeping it safe for him. Maria's eyes glistened. That's what you do, isn't it? Keep things safe for people who can't do it themselves? Cole closed his fingers around the coin. Thank you. Thank you, Cole, for everything. She hugged him briefly, fiercely, and then she was gone. 2 years passed. Second Watch expanded twice, adding a second building and tripling its staff. The waiting list grew to 6 months, then 8, then a year. Veterans came from across the country now, some flying thousands of miles for the chance to participate in a program they'd heard about from friends or seen featured in a documentary that Cole had reluctantly agreed to. You're famous, Marcus told him. Deal with it. I don't want to be famous. I want to be useful. You're both. Stop complaining. The documentary had been Elena's idea. She'd connected Cole with a filmmaker who specialized in veteran stories, someone who understood that the point wasn't drama or entertainment, but truth. The finished product ran 90 minutes and aired on a major streaming platform to an audience of millions. It told the story simply. The kick, the investigation, the trial, the aftermath, and then the part that mattered most, the building. The healing, the transformation of one man's tragedy into something that helped others. The response was overwhelming. Donations poured in. Volunteers appeared from nowhere. Other organizations reached out, wanting to replicate the Second Watch model in their own cities. Cole said yes to all of it, not because he wanted the attention, but because every new center meant more veterans helped, more dogs trained, more lives rebuilt. Shadow was 12 now. The years showed on him clearly. Slower movements, more frequent rest, a cloudiness in his eyes that Dr. Chen said was the beginning of cataracts. But he still came to the center every day, still greeted new arrivals with that patient calm, still worked with the most difficult cases as if he understood something essential about the nature of healing. He's remarkable, Helen said one morning, watching Shadow with a young veteran who hadn't spoken to anyone in 3 weeks. How does he know? Know what? Who needs him most? He always finds them. The ones everyone else has given up on. Cole watched his dog settle beside the silent veteran, close enough to touch, but not pushing, just present. The young man's hand moved slowly, tentatively, and came to rest on Shadow's back. It was the first voluntary contact he'd made since arriving. "He doesn't find them," Cole said quietly. "He recognizes them. Because he's been there too." The letter arrived on a Thursday afternoon in early spring. Cole almost didn't open it. The return address was the Federal Correctional Institution in Terre Haute, Indiana, and he received occasional hate mail from Hartwell supporters who blamed him for destroying a great American company. He'd learned to throw those away unread. But something made him pause. The handwriting on the envelope was precise, controlled, familiar in a way he couldn't immediately place. He opened it. "Mr. Brennan, I am writing to request a meeting. I have served 8 years of my sentence and recently received a parole recommendation due to my cooperation with ongoing investigations. Before I leave this place, there is something I need to say to you. Something that cannot be adequately expressed in a letter. I am not asking for forgiveness. I am asking for 5 minutes of your time. Victor Hartwell." Cole read the letter 3 times. Then he called Marcus. "He wants to meet me." "Hartwell? Absolutely not. He's being paroled. Cooperation with investigations. Probably gave up more contacts, more information. So what? He's a murderer. He tried to destroy you. He kicked your dog." "I know what he did." "Then why are you even considering this?" Cole looked at Shadow, sleeping in a patch of sunlight, chest rising and falling with the slow rhythm of old age. "Because I need to know if he's changed. And because, if I don't go, I'll always wonder." "Wonder what?" "If I'm still afraid of him." Marcus was silent for a long moment. "You want backup?" "No. This one I need to do alone." The prison visiting room was smaller than Cole expected. He'd arrived early, cleared security, and been escorted to a table near the back. Shadow had stayed home. This wasn't a place for dogs, and Cole needed his full attention for whatever was about to happen. The door opened. Victor Hartwell walked in slowly, escorted by 2 guards who positioned themselves near the walls. He looked different, thinner, grayer, older. The confidence that had defined him was gone, replaced by something Cole couldn't immediately identify. He sat down across from Cole without speaking. For a long moment, neither of them moved. "Thank you for coming," Hartwell finally said. His voice was quieter than Cole remembered, less certain. "You said you had something to tell me." "Yes." Hartwell folded his hands on the table. "I've had 8 years to think about what I did. 8 years of silence and solitude, and the particular clarity that comes from losing everything. And I was wrong." The words came out slowly, as if each one cost him something. Not about the business decisions, not about the strategy or the technology or the contracts. I was wrong about what mattered. Cole waited. "I built an empire. I accumulated power. I convinced myself that I was protecting something important. My country, my company, my legacy. But I wasn't protecting anything. I was just taking. Taking money, taking credit, taking lives, and calling it necessity. You killed my friends." "Yes." Hartwell met his eyes. "I gave orders that resulted in their deaths. I told myself they were threats, that they would destroy everything I'd built, that their silence was necessary for the greater good. I was lying. To them, to myself, to everyone. Why are you telling me this?" "Because you're the only one who might understand." Hartwell leaned forward slightly. "You've killed too, in service of something you believed in. You've made decisions that cost lives and told yourself it was justified." "That's not the same thing." "Isn't it? We both served masters we thought were righteous. We both followed orders we didn't question. The only difference is that your masters wore uniforms, and mine wore suits. Cole's jaw tightened. My masters didn't ask me to murder innocent people.
No, they asked you to kill people they decided weren't innocent, and you did it without hesitation. Hartwell paused. I'm not saying we're the same. I'm saying we're both products of systems that taught us certain lives matter more than others. I just took that lesson further than you were willing to go.
Is that supposed to make me feel better?
No, it's supposed to make you think. Hartwell sat back. I watched the documentary about your program. Second watch. What you've built there is remarkable.
I didn't come here to be complimented.
I know. You came because you needed to see me diminished. You needed to confirm that justice was served, that the monster was defeated, that good triumphed over evil.
Hartwell smiled slightly, a shadow of his old arrogance, but tempered now with something like self-awareness. I can't give you that. I'm still the same man I was. I just see myself more clearly now.
Then why ask to meet? Hartwell was quiet for a moment. When he spoke again, his voice was softer. Your dog, Shadow, how is he? The question surprised Cole. Old, tired, but still fighting. I kicked him. I hurt him deliberately, casually, to make a point that didn't need making. Hartwell's expression shifted, something approaching genuine emotion beneath the controlled surface. In 8 years, that's the thing that haunts me most. Not the fraud or the deaths or the treason. The dog. Because the dog was innocent. Purely, completely innocent. And I hurt him anyway. Why? Because I could. Because no one had ever stopped me before. Because power had convinced me that everything was permitted. He shook his head slowly. I was wrong. About everything. But especially about that. Cole studied the man across from him, looking for deception, looking for manipulation, looking for any sign that this was just another game. He found nothing but exhaustion and regret. I don't forgive you, Cole said finally. I'm not sure I ever will. I'm not asking for forgiveness. Then what are you asking for? Hartwell considered the question. A chance. When I get out of here, I'll have nothing. No money, no connections, no power. I'll be 73 years old with a criminal record and a name that's synonymous with everything this country claims to hate. That's not my problem. No, but it could be my opportunity. Hartwell met his eyes. I know things about the defense industry, about the systems that create men like me, about the ways power corrupts and money silences, and good people get destroyed for asking questions. I could use that knowledge to help you, to help your program, to prevent others from becoming what I became. Cole laughed, a harsh, disbelieving sound. You want to work for me? I want to work against the system that made me. I want to spend whatever time I have left tearing down what I built. Hartwell's voice hardened. You think you've won? You think Hartwell Dynamics was the only company cutting corners and silencing critics? There are dozens of them, hundreds. And they're still operating right now, still selling defective equipment, still covering up failures that cost American lives. And you know who they are? I know everything. Names, methods, contacts. 30 years of relationships with the worst people in the defense industry. Hartwell leaned forward. I can give you all of it. Every secret, every crime, every skeleton in every closet. You just have to let me help. Cole sat with that for a long moment. I'll think about it, he finally said. That's all I ask. They stood simultaneously, an unconscious synchronization that reminded Cole how similar they were beneath the surface. Two men shaped by violence and service and the complicated mathematics of sacrifice. One more thing, Cole said. If you ever come near Shadow again, If you ever hurt another animal, another veteran, another innocent person, I won't call the authorities. I won't file reports. I'll handle it myself."
"I understand."
"Do you?"
Hartwell met his gaze steadily. "I've learned what happens when someone underestimates you, Mr. Brennan. I won't make that mistake twice." Cole drove home through familiar streets, his mind churning with everything Hartwell had said. The offer was genuine. He was certain of that now. Hartwell wanted redemption, or something close to it. The question was whether redemption was possible for a man who'd done what he'd done. Shadow was waiting at the door when Cole arrived, tail wagging slowly, eyes bright despite their clouding. "Hey, buddy." Cole knelt and gathered the old dog close. "I saw him today. The man who hurt you." Shadow's tail continued its slow rhythm. "He's different now. Smaller. Broken, maybe. He said he was sorry about what he did to you." The dog pressed his head against Cole's chest. "I don't know if I believe him, but I know something changed in that room. Something shifted." Cole pulled back and looked into Shadow's patient eyes. "What do you think? Do people like that deserve second chances?" Shadow licked his face once. "Yeah," Cole said softly. "I thought you'd say that." He stood and walked into second watch, Shadow at his heels. The building was quiet. Late afternoon, most of the veterans gone for the day. But signs of life were everywhere. Training equipment arranged in careful rows. Photographs on the walls showing success stories. A whiteboard covered in schedules and notes, and the organized chaos of purposeful work. This was what he'd built. Not from revenge, not from anger. From the simple decision to turn pain into something useful. Marcus found him an hour later, standing in the main training area, watching Shadow sleep in his favorite spot. "How was it?" "Complicated. Prison visits usually are." Cole turned to face his friend. He offered to help. Information about other companies, corruption, cover-ups, the whole network. Marcus's eyebrows rose. "And you're considering it?" "I don't know. Part of me says take it. Use his knowledge to prevent other veterans from getting hurt. Part of me says burn the bridge and never look back. What does your gut say?" Cole looked at Shadow again, the dog who'd saved his life. The dog who'd been kicked by a billionaire and responded not with aggression, but with patience. The dog who'd taught him that strength wasn't about winning fights. It was about choosing which battles mattered. "My gut says everyone deserves a chance to change, even Victor Hartwell." He paused. "But my gut also says I should watch him very carefully." Marcus nodded. "Sounds about right." They stood in comfortable silence for a while, two warriors who'd found a different kind of service. "You know, it's funny," Cole finally said. "What?" "It all started with a kick. One moment of casual cruelty that Hartwell thought no one would care about. And now, 3 years later, there's a building full of veterans rebuilding their lives, dozens of dogs finding purpose, a network of support that stretches across the country, and a billionaire in prison." "And a billionaire in prison," Cole smiled. He thought he was demonstrating power. Instead, he started a movement. Poetic justice. Something like that. Shadow stirred in his sleep, legs twitching gently, dreaming of running maybe, or chasing rabbits, or the 1,000 other adventures dogs dream about. Cole watched him with a love that had only deepened over the years. This dog had saved his life in Afghanistan, had grounded him through PTSD, had been the catalyst for everything that followed. Whatever came next, whether Hartwell's offer led to new battles or quiet retirement, Shadow had earned his rest. "Come on," Cole said to Marcus. "Let's close up and go home." They walked out together into the spring evening. The air smelled like growth and possibility. Somewhere in the distance, a dog barked. Cole looked back at second watch, one final time. The building where broken things came to be mended, where veterans found purpose and dogs found families, and everyone learned that healing wasn't a destination, but a journey. He'd never planned any of this, never imagined that one act of cruelty could create so much good. But life had a way of surprising people who paid attention. Shadow pressed against his leg, and Cole rested his hand on the dog's broad head. "Ready to go home, buddy?" The old dog's tail wagged once, and together they walked into the fading light, leaving the past behind and carrying the future forward, one faithful step at a time. Some victories don't need applause. They just need a place to land and a promise that no heel would ever come down again. The end.